You're tuned to Grecian Echoes, the longest-running Greek-American radio broadcast program in the country. It's Mondays with Meleti, and your host, Meletios Pouliopoulos. I have a very special guest who will be joining us shortly. He has discovered an archive of the Greek-American League, and he learned an awful lot about his relative, Nicholas Calamaras. But the archive itself, when he found it, he thought this is so valuable, and he put it all together and published a book with all the papers and his interpretations of them as they were. He laid it out quite nicely, a glimpse into the Greek immigrant experience in early New York, an intriguing archive lost for over a century. My guest this morning is Dean G. Calamaras. He's a native of New York City and a longtime researcher of Greek and Polish history. A graduate of Hartwick College and the Pennsylvania State University, he's retired from teaching economics at Hudson Valley Community College. He lives with his extended family in Albany, New York area, and he has lectured extensively on history and exploring the world, and has recently published a series of articles on Rodziny. Okay, the Journal of Polish Genealogical Society of America, and I want to say Kalimera. Hello, Dean. How are you?
Kalimera, Sas.
It's so nice to have you.
Thank you. Appreciate your having me.
And it's did I pronounce that right? Rodziny?
Rodzini.
Okay.
Rodzini.
That's great. Well, welcome. And
Thank you.
Dean, I want to thank you right up front for sending me a copy of your book for the Greek Cultural Resources Archive, The Baron of Second Avenue. And it's such exciting. I would just want to start with how the discovery was made of the archive. Can you just tell the audience a little bit about that part of the story?
Yes, I was rummaging through a storeroom in my parents' basement and found a box of photo albums that I looked through the albums. I didn't recognize who was there, any of the people in the pictures, and I almost threw the thing out because if you don't know who they are, why keep their pictures? But at the bottom of the box of albums was this metal box with documents from the Greek-American League. I set it aside for a few years, looked at it again later, and realized that there's something important here. To back up a little bit, my father had been the executor for Helene Calamaras, who was Nicholas's daughter. Helene died in 1995, and a number of her possessions ended up in my parents' home, and including this box of photo albums. And I started looking through the papers. I spread them out on the dining room table. They looked as if they had been just thrown down the stairs and shoved back in the box. Right. And I put them in order by topic and by date. And then I put them on an Excel spreadsheet to try to organize them, and that's how I put the story together. What was going on here? What we had.
In the condition of the documents, they were considering they were over 100 years old. They held up pretty well in this metal box, right?
Yeah, some are in tatters. I have to have them in glassine folders. Others are quite good. The paper is stiff. Many of them, they're stained, they're folded, they're losing corners and that kind of thing, but they're quite legible. And I scanned them all to make them they're 10 meg, each image is a 10 meg computer file, so they're very well, very legible, and
that's a lot of work, Nicholas. Dean, how long did it take you to do that, to actually first organize the documents, list them out, and do the scanning activities?
Several weeks, really.
Yeah. It's a labor of love,
Oh, yeah.
and you decided to publish these in a book. Now, tell me, what was your process, the thought process behind doing it? Had you approached other institutions, let's say libraries or historic societies, with your findings?
Yes, I talked to friends who were historians, and they told me anything original source like this is very valuable,
Yes.
and should be kept intact. I approached the Library of Congress. They wanted the papers. I contacted the New York State Library. They wanted the papers. I called the Hellenic Museum in Chicago. They wanted the papers. And again, my friends were urging me to disseminate this material as widely as I could. So that was the impetus for writing a book. Well, scanning everything and writing an interpretation, the first ever interpretation of these papers. Throw it out there and see what the academic community thinks.
And the academic community right now is very, very excited. We're all, because no one had heard of the Greek American League. I saw in the endorsements, some of the endorsements that you had for the book. There's many more that have come in, but in the published edition, Carol Kostakis-Petranek of Spartan Roots, .com. We had her on as a guest a few weeks ago.
Right.
She gives an excellent dedication. Paul Huey, who has a PhD, he's a historian and archaeologist. He wrote something very nice. And it goes on and on. You have so many endorsements in the book. I even see Jeremy Bucher here from the National Hellenic Museum, the collection and archives manager there. Great guy. So you've talked to some people along the way, and so your feeling was one of access. You wanted this information to get out there and not be put behind a wall, and
Right.
I think that's very important. And you took the expense on. Now, since you've published the book, and I saw in the National Herald, congratulations, by the way,
Thank you.
Eleni had reviewed that book, and there's a nice article for people, and we can, if you don't have that, if you can't find it, you should be able to. You just look up Calamaras, and Calamaras, and by the way, Calamaras Books is a website, is it not?
Yes, Calamaras Books.
Okay, so they can write to calamarasbooks@gmail.com and do some more searching around this. Now, since you've published the edition, have you received any calls, any insights from people? Have they said, "Gee, it's so great that you had that court case or whatever mentioned," and nothing? Has anything like that come back to you yet?
Well, one person characterized this find as like finding a Rosetta Stone. All of a sudden, here's something we never knew was there, and it sheds a lot of light on Greek activities at that time. There isn't that much literature on such things.
You're right, there isn't, and at least not this available. And this is what's really nice. I think people will be studying this for years. I know I will. And it really shows now should I say it was your uncle? When I refer to Nicholas, is that the best way to refer to him? Your great uncle, maybe?
My great uncle, my father's uncle.
Yeah,
Right.
your father's uncle. There you go. Now, so in the family, the legacy, there was no one knew of what he was doing in his candy shop and the deals he made in this whole Greek American League, or did some of that trickle down?
Nobody knew anything. I am the family chronicler of the family history. I've been doing this for decades. Anytime there's a family gathering of any sort, or I talk to anybody, I'm constantly asking about anecdotes, stories about one person or another. What was it like living then? Tell me about your father. Tell me about your grandmother. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
there's one of those in every family. I'm so fortunate that your family knew that you were the man for this, to receive this archive and work it. And you've done such a beautiful job
thank you.
with the book. I'd like to just, for the audience, if it's okay, just read from the prefaces. We were mentioning your great uncle Nicholas Calamaras, the Baron of Second Avenue.
Sure.
He was the man the Greeks went to with their problems: law enforcement, immigration, deportations, export permits, licenses, jobs, even criminal matters. He saw it all. Operating out of a tiny candy shop on 2nd Avenue, Nicholas Calamaras wielded political power and called in favors to help his fellow Greek immigrants. Greek immigration hit New York City like one more plague of locusts. Like all new immigrants, they were all considered crude, uncouth, dirty, uneducated, and even dark-skinned. Not Protestant, Roman Catholic, or Jewish, they didn't even use the Roman alphabet, discriminated against at every turn. They had to organize to survive. And it goes on. And I just think the book is beautifully written. And was this all you?
Me with God's guidance.
God, you have done such a beautiful job. This is a treasure, and I think it would make a nice gift for people. For if you have a historian in your family, I am really hoping now we have the opportunity to take this information, all these letters that you've published, all the correspondence, and the various interplays in the community, and then explore the archives. Go right up to the state archives. Look up these court cases. Go into the Greek media and look up. And I hope that people do that and they go back to you. Do you want to keep researching this story yourself?
Oh yeah, I would love to get feedback from people whose names appear in the index in the back. I have an index of 100 Greek names that appear in the documents.
Yes.
Whether on letterhead, stationery, or people who asked for help, people who received help. I would love to hear from their families to say, yeah, this was my grandfather, this was my mother, that kind of thing.
Oh,
Learn more about this.
It would be really nice. It's not one project, but several projects all rolled into one. And I hope that people get back. Now you're going to then expand your website perhaps and keep engaged in this and keep track of all of these responses that are coming in.
Oh yeah.
That's fascinating.
My daughter's coming over in a couple of days, and she'll be working on that. That's not something for somebody my age to do.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's good that you have some help. That's very important. What did you yourself learn when you were processing these papers? Now, can I just ask you a little bit about where you grew up right in New York City yourself?
Yeah, West 82nd Street. I could walk, and it was safe to do that as a youngster.
Really?
I could walk to the Museum of Natural History.
Sure.
I could walk to Riverside Park, the Central Park.
Yeah.
I would hang out at the planetarium.
Yeah.
I could walk downtown. It was so, and I was a child, 12, 13, 14 years old later. My parents thought nothing of, actually, we moved out of New York when I was 10.
Yeah.
When I was younger than 10, my parents thought nothing of letting me go out and do these things after school. It was safe in those days.
Did you have extended family as well? Did you have brothers or sisters, or did you have cousins around?
Yes, my grandmother, my Polish grandmother, my mother's family lived. We grew up with her, and then we moved down the street a few doors. So we were always around her. We had the Greek family that moved to Brooklyn in the 1920s, and as I mentioned in the book. Ivantio Karounos,
yes.
Who was about my age, told me how her family home in Brooklyn was the crossroads for all the Calamaras and Chrysomallus families, among others. She saw everybody. She knew everybody in the albums. It was unbelievable.
No kidding.
But for her, I'd have tossed the whole box of stuff.
Oh yeah, well that's good. You know, it's so good that it fell into your hands and that you've taken this very interesting action to publish the papers. It's so funny how many times we become obsessed with our own material possessions and we want to hold on to them and maybe be the expert or be the, as they say in the Greek, the manga, you know, the tough guy that's got the real goods, you know, but no one
Yeah,
else can
yeah,
look at it. It's
yeah.
kind of silly, right? So as the older people get, they kind of soften in those regards. But you really, so have you made plans for the physical archive? Where it will eventually go? Are you still considering that?
We still have more universities asking for them,
Yeah.
and uh, I'm kind of leaving it to the family to decide. They're
Yeah.
they still want to talk about it.
That's good. That's very good. I hope that this radio interview here increases your audience and the people are aware of this great publication. Our guest this morning is Dean G. Calamaras, and he is a native of New York City and a longtime researcher of both Greek and Polish history. And he has written a book of the Baron of Second Avenue, Nicholas Calamaras, and the Archive of the Greek American League, with a glimpse into the Greek immigration experience in New York. And this book is available right now at Calamaras Books, and you can write to him at Calamaras books at gmail.com. So back to my question then. It was what did you yourself learn when you were going through these papers? What was going through your mind?
I was just fascinated by the nature of the material. Letters, you know, who sees, for instance, correspondence on police letterhead thanking a person for flowers or candy? You know, you don't do that today.
Yeah.
There's even a letter from a state agency thanking him for a gift on letterhead stationery.
That's so nice. It's so special that he saved that, and he was selective. Then you're feeling now. This archive spans about 10 years from, would you say, 1913, 19? Yeah.
Well, the letters precede the organization.
Hmm.
The letters from the police department start about 1912.
Okay.
He started the organization maybe 1914 or so, and we have the final documents we have are about 1934.
So he was a very literate man to be able to write, and most of these letters that here are in English.
It's curious when he first came here, the document for signing his letter of intent for to become a citizen was signed with an X, and the clerk wrote down his mark and signed for him. A few years later, when he received his citizenship, he wrote his signature. All his letters are very well composed, very organized, good grammar, and they're done as well as anybody in this country would have done. His letters in Greek are also well organized and well written.
Yeah, that's really something. Do you know when did he come over?
He came over 1895 with several brothers.
That's very, very early.
They're coming from they're Navarrete. They're up the mountain from Sparta.
Hmm.
They traveled probably to the harbor of Ythion in the southern Peloponnese. Evidently took a boat to France because the immigration papers show that they left Bordeaux, France, 1895 to come to New York.
It's fascinating.
And they were preceded by Brother Andrew, who came a year earlier.
This is very, very early in the immigration picture. You know, a lot of families came between, I always say 1880, but somewhere in there, right through to about 1923. And when the immigration laws had changed, when we consider this material, we have to consider its context, what was happening in and around in those years. And like I say, I think we're going to be studying this for a very, very long time. It's such a treat, such a gift that you have given, and at a time right now where we're all thinking about our Greek American history and our own heritage here. You have just given us a window, a very beautiful window, and I want to just say thank you very much for doing this.
It was a labor of love.
Yeah, it's just fascinating. Are you right? When you mentioned Sparti, I guess is that how you
Right.
met Carol? Because she has Spartan roots. Were you looking into where your family came from?
I actually corresponded with her maybe 20 some years ago when she had some affiliation with a genealogy group out of Salt Lake City,
Yeah.
and I kind of renewed the correspondence maybe 5 6 years ago
Oh,
when she had the Spartan Roots program going.
yeah. She is doing remarkable work. I feel bad that her colleague Georgia had passed away. I'm sure you've heard.
Oh yeah,
We were all kind of shocked by it. But Carol, for years, and she's surrounded by good people, and Gregory Conto certainly over in
right,
Greece.
right.
But the whole network that she and Georgia have created, it goes to show you how many people are willing to help with this sort of thing. And
A lot of people are interested in this. This generation of young people is really interested in this.
much, yes, that's good. It's important, yeah, and we have to continue to do this. So, Nicholas, I look at the book and I see Nicholas and Dean. I'm sorry that if I get confused, it's this happens every once in a while, but
As long as I can cash your check.
absolutely, absolutely. Give me a week, and I'll see what I can do. So, thank you again. I want to just recap for people. This is the Baron of Second Avenue, Nicholas Calamaras, in the archive of the Greek American League, and it's a book, and it's it's so exciting that this intriguing archive was lost for a century, and Dean has published it, and along with it, it's very well organized, and we're going to leave it at that for our listening audience.
It's also available online.
And it's available online. Hey, you can't get better than that. Dean, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was really interesting speaking with you. I hope we can continue the conversation.
Ευχαριστώ πάρα πολύ.
Kiego, have a nice day, my friend.
Ευχαριστώ.
That's Dean Calamaras. Boy, what a remarkable person and a remarkable path that he's chosen to make sure that this history gets out there, that people know and can study it. And we're all just like rejoicing that he found this material. It's Mondays with Meleti, and your host Meleti Pouliopoulos, here with you all morning.